Okay, before I get you started on your little staggered satin stitch, I want to show you another way in which you can secure your thread. And a satin stitch is a great way to practice this because it can feel a little bit insecure when you're doing it for the first time. So that's why I didn't use it for a really long time, but especially if you're wanting to put something on clothing or something that someone's going to put on their skin, you know, or even a patch where you don't want all that kind of bumping from the needle. Something that you can do, or not from the needle, from the knots. Something that you can do, and there's a few different ways in which you can do this, but basically I have my needle threaded, like always, except that there's no knot. I just got it hanging out. Nothing anchoring it like that at the end. So instead of making a knot and having this little bulbous thing at the back, something that you can do, especially if you have something that you're going to plan on filling in like this anyway. It also works for things like this, but it's a little bit trickier. Is you start in the middle of your image, somewhere just not at the edge. It doesn't have to be, you know, obviously smacked up in the middle. I do it right here. Typically, somewhere near a corner. You pull it through, you don't pull it all the way through. I like to leave about that much. Doesn't really matter how much, just enough that you can kind of hold it with your finger like this. And you're going to keep your finger there while you go on the back. And you're just going to make a little stitch like this. Yeah, just a little basic stitch. I'm still holding that tail at the back, so when I pull through like this, it doesn't move, because I've got my finger right here holding this thread. And then, while you're still holding that thread, what you're going to do is you're going to make a little X with your thread. You pull up, I'm still holding the tail, and you're going to come down, and you're going to go like that. You're going to pull tight, and I've let go of my thing, I've let go of my little tail, and I'm pulling, and nothing's happening, and your thread is now secure. And when you've finished doing all your satin stitches and stuff, this little tail, you can just cut right off. And you tie everything off. Or sometimes it'll just get like trapped under all these threads like this, and you won't have to worry about it. Either way. So for your staggered satin stitch, it's pretty much the same method. You're just going to do your stitches staggered. So basically, the basic formula, you can pretty much do this any way you want. But you're going to come up, you're going to pull up right where the beginning of your image is. And you're going to go, let's say, halfway to the edge of your image. Now, actually, we're going to do this different. We're going to go like a quarter of the way right here. Right? We're going to do that. Easy. And then instead of starting somewhere over here, you're going to meet back here, just like you did with the original satin stitch, and you're going to get as close as you can to the original stitch, just like always. You're going to poke up, and your next stitch is going to be longer than that one. You're going to go like maybe twice the length, maybe just a little bit less than that. I'm going to do this guider thing just so that I get everything straight. I'm going to put it right about there. Okay, see, you got two little staggered stitches there. And then the next stitch that you're going to do is going to be the same length, or about the same length, doesn't have to be exact, as the shorter one. I'm going to do that a couple times, and I'll show you what the next step is after that. So the next one is going to be the same as that long one, you know, about the same thing. I'm going to go until I cover this little stitch up. Then a short one. then another long one, and we'll call that good for that first part. Now, honestly, I should have made these a little bit longer. However, it doesn't really matter. Because basically, the point of this little staggered satin stitch is when you have items or things that you need to fill in that are really big, if they like span the whole shape of the project, or if you have shapes that are really kind of a weird shape, and so your lines aren't going to kind of match up exactly. If you do this little satin stitch, what's going to happen is either if it's really big, you're going to get a lot of gapping. Like even this, you're getting some gapping still here. Part of that is just human error from me because I was, kind of going fast. But especially if you have a larger item, it's going to start doing that. And you don't want that. Another thing is that when you're doing really oblong shaped items, sometimes things aren't matching up right, or things just don't look right. And what a staggered satin stitch allows you to do is it allows you to kind of conform to the shape of something else in a better way. And the reason we stagger it, instead of just, putting in little threads wherever we want, is that it just looks better. It just looks more uniform. It looks more purposeful. You're less likely to notice it. If you're looking at it, you'll most likely just perceive it as this. Where if you kind of just did it willy-nilly, randomly, sometimes it sticks out in the project, and you don't want that either. So here's me. I pulled up right here, right kind of in the middle, and I'm just going to meet it. Right here. In this case, you can go into the same hole as this because it's been so long, it's not going to pull out. And I'm going to go, that's kind of a short one. I'll do a long one here. Right, we're just kind of filling it in like this. And I'm going to line up this end right here with the short one, where that one began. You're going to go right here. I also use this, I did like a brick wall once, and I wanted the texture, but I didn't want to stitch every individual brick, obviously. That was going to take a long time. So I just did this, and it kind of gave the texture that I wanted. If I left some space, I accidentally left kind of a gap right here, and you can see that shadow there, I used it for that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And then you would just fill in the whole image like that. And then sometimes, because I'm a silly goose, I didn't really take enough care to really get these stitches really close to each other. So you can obviously see some of that blue fabric poking through there pretty obviously. And that's another great thing about this staggered stitch, is that since it's already kind of staggered and not uniform like this one, I can just slip in a stitch as close as I can right here. Right, and I'm just going to fill in that space. Even though it's not part of my original pattern, I'm just going to fill it in like that. And no one's really going to notice. You see, you can't even really see it. If I do that with something like this, if you miss a stitch on a satin stitch, it's unfortunately less forgiving. And what's going to happen is if you say you went too short here and you poked through here and you wanted to just poke up here and match it here, it's gonna stick out like a sore thumb, and you pretty much have to pull the whole stitch that you just did, and you just have to redo it because it's just not gonna look right. With this, you can kind of hodgepodge it together. It's more forgiving, and a lot of people default to this method just because there's less risk in it. Yeah, again, you can use your usual tie-off method. In fact, I'm just gonna do that here. Do this, get myself some thread, pull it apart, make a little knot. You can make two if it makes you feel better. Get as close as I can, cut it away, and you're good.